What's up? What's up, party parrots?
Yeah.
Hey.
You good?
Let's get our garage band on.
Oh, nice. Love to hear it.
We got to remember to be good little students, you know?
Well, I had a meeting with Carter this past week, and I'm trying the third microphone in a week. Or third microphone in 3 weeks, 3 episodes. I'm trying a different microphone, so hopefully my cream is elite.
I
don't know if that's how you say it, but
it is. It is.
It definitely sounds like a porn company, though.
Yeah, maybe I worded that wrong.
Elite creams.
Elite creams.
I guess that's a really nice way to describe your personal cream is as elite.
It's a bit braggadocious. Yeah, that's true.
It's a bit braggy. Dog, you look bright today.
I know. Actually, if I'm being honest, put a little makeup on for this one.
Oh, cool. I was gonna say, am I wrong in assuming that you don't usually?
No, I don't usually. I've been
this morning.
I've been like not taking care of myself for like months.
I love it. So I think that's the way it is. So
yeah. So like I was talking to Clensington, my dad, last night. Right. And I found out that he too.
How's his 401k, by the way?
Oh, I haven't asked him. It's sensitive. Okay. Because, cool. With Trump, it's like one day it's great and one day it's not.
Right.
He only talks to me when it's on a good day. So I don't know how it's been. But he actually opened up to me that personal hygiene is also a struggle for him during the quarantine, just like me.
Nice little father-daughter bonding moment over back acne.
Yep.
Which is the way everybody likes to bond with their siblings.
Yeah, back acne and
their daughter, their progeny.
And dermatitis.
Love it. See, with the way your hair is right now, you have a little bit like your ear is just slightly peeking out of that side, so you have a little like elven touch.
I didn't even notice that.
It's what I call the elven touch.
Dr. Elven touch.
Dr. Elven touch. That actually sounds like. Freed, you look concerned. Is everything all right over there?
I'm trying to figure out this garage band. I realized the last time I recorded on it, it had there was like a filter that made me sound like I was in a cave of doom or something.
Oh, I love it.
Did you? So I think I need to change something. Is there like a, put it on this
cave of doom setting that you need to turn off?
I want to turn it off. The cave of doom.
I don't know. There might be. Keep exploring. There might be a reverb setting on, or you maybe just did something in the export. But
I'm gonna do
anyway.
Bright vocal. Yeah, that sounds good.
I realized the last week that I actually did not introduce us for some inexplicable reason. We've done this how many fucking times? 163 times, and I didn't introduce us last time. So, this is Did You Reddit, a weekly podcast about the internet by way of Reddit, the front page of the internet. My name is It's Your Dad.
I'm Dog Boobs.
I'm My Free Day. I'm doing a little Ellen dance this morning, guys.
Ellen dance?
Because I'm a monster.
I thought you were about to say because I'm
Ellen
a
have
mom.
A dance?
Oh, geez. You just outed yourself as not culturally in the
loop.
Did
you just say, does Ellen dance?
Dog
no, I know she dances.
What are we going to do about this guy?
Tell me what the dance is.
Oh. First of all, I thought you were in music.
Yeah, she just does all the dances. All the mom dances.
This week. Anyway, so this one, despite all the laughter and the fun we're having, this one is heavy. The one we're doing today. We are going to be talking about a sub. I believe this was your suggestion, right, Dog? Were you the one who brought this up?
Yes.
So we are talking about askdocs today. Not askdocs, D-O-X, not like ask to release someone's information without their knowing.
It's like a new like hazing site where if you want to get doxxed because you love the thrill of being bum rushed by
love the thrill of your
kind of a great idea
being released on the internet.
That's a good idea for a sub is ask docs, and it's like I need to dox an enemy of mine. I don't know how to do it. Here's what I know.
I bet there's an Ask Hackers that is a similar concept.
Probably.
But Ask Docs is about asking. It fills an interesting void in society, I've noticed, as we were going through it last night, where it kind of is a community run WebMD kind of idea almost, where what we've seen with WebMD is it's kind of become this, obviously an ongoing joke that's also quite serious, where people will be like, oh, I have a cough, and I was just like, I checked WebMD and I have lung cancer. Can you believe it? And that's like a problem, right? I mean, it's become a big issue. And so part of the reason is because you get to interpret everything you see on WebMD for your own, you don't have the it's not even medical knowledge, though that's part of it, is you get to see the worst possible thing because we know it's very scary and we know the anomalies are real. And then you go, holy shit, I think I have that thing. And then you go to the doctor and they go, you don't have that thing. And they go, but what if I have that thing? And it's just kind of created an interesting psychology that I think is a problem. And so Ask Docs, in my opinion, is kind of the best version of that, where instead of it being oh my God, I have lung cancer, it's, oh my God, I'm worried about this thing that I have. Can anybody help me? And then a series of doctors and not doctors will chime in and say, yeah, actually, it sounds like this. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you want to go check a doctor, ask them to do this thing, and they will be able to test whether this hyper-specific aspect of what you're worried about is real or not.
I've learned there's only like 9 symptoms after COVID because they keep repeating the same list of symptoms.
Yeah.
It's always like, are you sore? Do you have a cough? Do you have a sniffly nose? Does your back hurt? You're like, all the time, all those things.
Yeah.
Like, you either have meningitis, a brain tumor, COVID. You can have it all.
Or you're over the age of 29.
Are you over the age of 29 with the sniffles? Walk off a fucking bridge. Kill yourself.
Yeah.
Kill yourself
I
now.
love our fans, by the way. I'm just going to jump in and say this. We got Timmy P. Bass. We got Boom King.
Fuck yeah.
Both on different respective platforms. Welcome y'all. Love that you're catching us live.
So shout out to Timmy B Pace, B Pace, B Bass, B B B P Bass, BP Oil, the yummies. He sent us a nice message on the IG that said, "Hey y'all." I like that he said, "Hey all. I wanted to give you an update on Save Brendan. He's been making his superhero show that's doing super well on Rotten Tomatoes called Doom Patrol." Then they sent us a link. So he's just keeping us. I'd call him our field correspondent.
He is our field correspondent.
Our Brendan.
Our field correspondent on all things river fishing.
Yeah. Anything bass related or upright bait. Yeah. Anything with 4 strings. That includes shoes.
And he's our in-house movie critic. So he sees everything. He lets us know.
For all y'all listeners, Doom Patrol is on HBO Max. Check it out.
Ah, love it. Love hearing that. Anyway, so back to what we were talking about. Sorry for the interruption. So Ask Docs, I think, is a very interesting sub. However, it's also extremely dark. so we might we'll see how this one goes. We might split it up into 2 episodes. We haven't decided yet. But we the way there's a lot of very serious stories that I think we want to get into because they're pretty indicative of what I think is the American medical system. Not even just the American medical system. I think there's a couple that are at kind of a global medical thing.
Yeah.
But that, when people are worried about their health, they talk in a very specific way. You get to know them in a very specific and honest way. And especially when it comes to, dying, which I think a lot of these also are, right? So anyway, we're going to get into that. Let's talk a little bit about the front page for a couple minutes. And then we'll talk about Ask Docs. What do you guys got? What's been happening on the front page for y'all?
Well, I actually saw a really fun video pop up from the guy who the movie The Town is about. Ben Affleck played him.
That was Ben Affleck's last great role, I'd say.
I know. So I'm trying. I can pull
the basketball coach one was pretty strong too.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
Ben Affleck, sad Affleck, like I feel kind of bad for him, but I have a feeling he's dating this new chick now, the girl from Knives Out. And you know what? He seems real happy.
It's because she's 17 and super hot.
She's 17. She probably doesn't have the world experience to judge his massive back tattoo.
Yeah, she thinks his
like Jennifer Garner did.
His phoenix rising out of the fire is awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, did Jennifer Garner say shitty things about it to his face?
Not that I know of, but I can only assume a woman after having children with a man who then gets a massive phoenix rising back tattoo will have something to say about it. So
how do we know that he wasn't a phoenix rising and that wasn't not even just a metaphor, but a literal, and he was getting it as a documentation?
Shit.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
Every real phoenix rising, that's the form of documentation they have to get.
Is he back on the nose candy in the meth? Is that why he's looking like he's having a good time?
Having a great time. You know, I hope not. I hope it's Ana de Armas who is providing this positive impact, but you know, who knows?
She's very attractive. I will say that.
She is.
She has a cool look. She's the look of the future human, I would say.
Yes, she does. She's like so freaking cute. I love her. I loved her in Knives Out. Anyway,
and she was in that Black Dahlia show with Chris Pine. That was pretty good, I thought.
Oh yeah,
on TNT. I think you'd like it, dog.
I bet I would. You know, the Black Dahlia story is one of my favorites.
Murder,
deceit, murder,
rape, slavery.
And
Tinseltown.
But this video that I saw on the front page, it's like I can share my screen if you guys want to see it. It's basically the guy that Ben Affleck played in The Town after he's been released from prison, going before a judge to talk about a ticket that he received in the time of COVID. And it's heartwarming and kind of funny because the guy is like such a old time Rhode Island gangster.
Huh.
So I can play part of it.
Yeah. Why don't you share your screen?
So. Yeah, let me share my screen and let me just cue it up because I don't want to share the whole freaking thing.
Cool. Love it.
But it's really cool.
Did you just drop a Q drop?
Did I? What's that?
Q not drop. Don't.
Oh yeah,
don't listen to him. Friday has been wandering down the alt YouTube landscape.
I've been wandering. I've discovered the alt internet recently.
Jesus Christ.
Is it good? Is it good?
I love it.
You are going to go full QAnon and no one will be able to save you. And we're just going to have to let it happen, and we're going to have to replace you with somebody who looks like you and act like and pretend to not even notice.
Dude, QAnon is all a CIA operation just to control a certain section of the population. Everybody knows that.
Okay, all right. Let's do the Ben Affleck thing.
All right.
Oh, this is a famous judge. This guy's he's a famous judge. I know this.
Is he the guy that gave Mr. Rogers the money like 30 years later? I think it is.
Is it?
I think
I don't even know what that means. But
okay, well, that's like a 10-minute video that'll make you cry 40 times.
All right,
come on, Ben Affleck.
I have not. Well, that movie's about me. Watch the movie. Ben Affleck plays me in the movie. William Sequeira. How's it going? 3 tickets. I don't know how I got them. They just showed up in the mailbox.
Imagine that. Somebody put 3 tickets in his mailbox and expects to carry it.
After we ran the red lights, yeah, I get that.
I work for a produce company.
Get close to the mic, please.
I work for a produce company, and sometimes I'm late getting to work or trying to get to work. So sometimes, maybe that has to do with it.
What do? You deliver produce?
Yeah, but I ain't getting no hours right now with this corona. I only get 20 hours. I only get 20 hours a week. All the drivers get like 20 hours.
What do you do? To markets?
I was in prison 30 years. This guy gave me a job when I got out. I was in federal prison for 30 years. He gave me a job 2 years ago. I've been out 2 years.
You've been out of prison for 2 years?
I was in federal prison for 30 years for bank robbery. This guy gave me a job. So I'm trying to do the right thing, work, you know what I mean? But it's hard with this corona. You ain't getting no hours. You're barely paying the rent right now.
Have you made up your mind that you're not going back?
No, I'm not going back to prison. I've been in prison over 37 years of my life.
37 years?
Yeah, I was in state prison for 7 years too. But I was in federal prison for 31 years. You ever seen the movie The Town?
I have not.
Well, that movie's about me. Watch the movie. Ben Affleck plays me in the movie.
Tell me about it.
That's a true story.
Tell me what the movie's about.
It's about guys out of Charlestown, Boston, rob banks and armored trucks.
But you learned your lesson, huh?
Well, I used to have a lot of money. Now I'm broke. I gotta work for it. You don't make much money.
Well, you made a lot of money because you were robbing banks.
I feel like I'm watching a
I must have had $500,000 in my refrigerator.
It feels like Mickey Rourke's next great movie.
Yeah.
kind of could be Mickey Rourke's next great movie, playing Frank Capito, the judge.
The judge.
That's the truth.
So how do you develop?
They took all that money, man.
How do you become this? How do you get that guy's voice? That's like the whole time I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, because that's such a stereotypical like gangster from New England voice.
That's Rhode Island, dude. First, you start by your first 7 years just eating oysters and shucking clams all day, smoking butts, and drinking Miller High Lifes.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of the voice you want, right?
Yeah.
Like, that sounds. As the resident woman on our pod, Dog, like what's the date meter on this fella?
It's hard because I am like a non-dater, permanently single, so it's hard for me to say. But I mean,
and sorry, the meter. We have to set the context for the meter. On the one hand, it's you're hiding behind your couch pretending you're not home when he calls. On the other hand, you're doxing him. You're showing up to his house being like, you want to go on a date?
Right.
We got to give it a parameter here.
This is the exact area I would be. I would try to carve out a role as a daughter-like figure for this judge because that's who I want to be to this person.
Cool. Yeah, I love
you're the judge's daughter, and you're gonna, as a punishment or as like a service, you're gonna date the criminal. The judge is like,
he needs help.
He needs help. Date my daughter.
I mean, I love that also.
She's a good egg.
The stereotypes were ripe there too, where he'd be like, I deliver meat to a meat market, and the judge is like, you deliver meat?
You deliver meat?
He's like, newsflash.
I need a meat guy.
I
you
love
deliver
meat.
meat?
Yeah. I like produce.
Yeah, that judge. I mean that makes the idea of being a judge interesting because the judge really he was just I mean, granted it was obviously like a ticket court, so it wasn't like he was high crimes,
right?
But it was kind of just like trying to get out of a ticket, right?
Yeah. So let me just show you the very tail end because it ends in a heartwarming way. This wasn't
heartwarming enough. I already felt like it was heartwarming.
I know it ends well for him though, because right now what he's explaining is that his hours have been cut as a produce driver.
Have you seen The Town? Based on me. I was in prison for 37 years.
Ben Affleck played me in The Town.
Your sentence is you gotta date dog boobs.
Yeah.
She's a good egg.
My daughter.
She's a good egg. She'll straighten you out.
She'll straighten you out.
Yeah. She
works at
the church.
Had a cab just near the Connecticut border on 95.
Well, they caught you.
They crashed our car. That's how we got caught. It was a crazy time back then.
He was a good bank robber. He was a terrible driver.
Zinga!
Zing!
I'm going to charge you.
He wants to kill the judge.
But what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to repeat that I get donations from all over the country.
You get what?
I get donations from all over the country. People
That's good.
making contributions for me to use if I think someone deserves a break. I'm proud of you because you've turned your life around, right? And I think you're going to continue to do it. So I'm going to charge you $150. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a $150 check from Chuck Shaheen, who's the former mayor of Charleston, Mass. No.
I love New England people, dude.
That is the best, man.
That guy is straight out of a movie, that fat cop. Oh, my God.
He actually appointed judges who he wanted to be fair and firm.
So he's just letting him off.
He's proud
what
of him
a
for
guy.
turning his life around.
I just want to have spaghetti and meatballs with these men all
Me
day
too.
long. I just want to just go where they go.
Cotton
have spaghetti and meatballs.
Wait, is this a new TV show?
Talk about the Red Sox.
We got to watch Cotton Providence now.
Yeah, we
all,
do.
It's all people like that, probably. Just
yes.
Wait, is that the name of the show?
Yes.
That must be where I know him from.
It must be, because I bet that cop and that judge are probably bantering like that on every episode.
Wow,
cool.
Fascinating.
So
I'm in. I love
uplifting.
Very uplifting.
You know what's insightful about that exchange? Because us, we always pull the insight out of
Our
life's little butthole.
Yeah.
Right.
But that ticket that guy was charged for $150 for, if you're like a working professional, $150 is not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
If you're that guy he probably makes $500 a week or something.
Right.
$150 is
not even anymore.
Or not,
right.
but you know what I mean? Like $150 is brutal. It's like
Huge.
crushing. So I feel like most people who get tickets are poor, like they're lower income. Like a lot of tickets are low income people. They really crush people. If you got money, who gives a shit? It's like there should almost be a sliding scale or something. I don't know, man. It's just like,
I think this judge is the sliding scale. The Boom King,
you got lucky, dude. How many times in LA did someone be like, you know what?
That doesn't happen. Garcetti was like, give me your money. In fact, here's a $20 fee on top of the $150.
You're wasting my time.
Give me your money. All right. So the Boom King, he said he took all of his money. If you get caught robbing banks, do they default take all the money? Like if you have robbed 4 banks and they can only prove you robbed 2, how does that work? Great question that we are unqualified to answer. But I would say that if Shawshank Redemption tells you anything, it's that if you hide your money under a tree,
yes,
then they can't actually take that money.
First, you have to make love to your wife under that tree 20 years before.
That's true.
The only way it'll
very complex system, actually. And this is how you skirt the law: is you steal from 4 banks.
Yep.
You take 2 of those banks and you blame it on your buddy, and then while that's happening, you make love with your wife under the tree. And then, so as the cops are chasing your best pal for the 2 banks, you're making love with your wife. She leaves. You dig a hole, right? You bury the money.
Oh, and you forgot to say,
this down?
And you leave a clump of your wife's hair there in case anybody comes back. She gets busted, and you run free.
Exactly.
There's a fool born every minute.
Yeah.
You go to prison.
I
yada
love you.
Yada.
Let's make love on this tree, but also I'm gonna take some hair.
So that's the way we do it. You have to dig a hole and then you have to go through it, and then 20 years later, and then I think you end up in Mexico, right? Is that how the plot goes? I don't remember.
Yeah, Cabo.
Zehuateneo.
There we go.
Where they go. Some amazing
what else is on the front page? I got one actually. This is this trend that never ends, and I always, every single time I see it, I'm just like, poor fella. So what is with I think this is in the Middle East. This is a Middle Eastern thing where they do this like ice cream trick. I know this is for everybody who's listening. What I'm going to paint the picture for you here. A big Asian man who's probably a tourist. All he wants is ice cream. And whoever he's getting the ice cream for, I believe this is somewhere in the Middle East, because I have seen this before in the Middle East. He's trying to get ice cream from this guy, and he just keeps punking him over and over and over again, never actually delivers him the ice cream. The Asian guy is very, very, he's taking it like a champ, but I feel every single time, this probably happens 8 times, I feel embarrassed for him every single second of the way.
Well, this is specifically sad because he's fat, and and he's not just a little bit fat. He's like,
he's a big boy. Yeah,
he's in trouble territory, and he really. I'm getting some feedback. Can you hear that? An echo?
I am also hearing some feedback. This is
it's sad. It makes me feel bad. The worst. My like most empathetic person in society is a fat person. I'm just like, oh man,
who just is trying to get ice cream and has
just trying to get ice cream,
and like
so sad.
Take my money. Like, why are you doing this to me?
He's like, did I need this? This is like my crack. That's like, imagine doing that to a crackhead.
Yeah,
someone will be like, you're a monster.
That is monstrous.
That's exactly. I think sugar and crack are
who seems sweet is like this is one of the like heartfelt things for me, where they just like because sometimes you're overweight, not on purpose. It's not your fault.
Yeah, hell no. Oh my god, no.
Yeah, and I'm not a fat shamer, and I think that people that are really nice, people like fucking Freed over here, lambasting the facts of the world, which we do not stand for.
I think the no fat shaming thing in America is well intended, but the consequence is that you have a lot of overweight people, maybe, and health is a real thing, and we're going to talk about it today. And a lot of the problems that are health related are from being overweight or having poor diets. And like, at what point can we start to have a conversation? It's like, I'm not trying to bully people. It's just,
I feel
health.
like the most important thing about, sorry to interrupt you, man. Continue.
I got nothing. Done.
I was going to say, I totally agree with you. And I think like the main thing is that the poor diet thing. And like, I think it's usually like, sometimes you think you can tell someone's diet if they're overweight. Sometimes you can't, which is why I feel like bad for, fat shaming, because you don't know what someone, and maybe they're literally in the process of losing, maybe they've already lost 200 pounds and here you are judging them and they're like, I know, I have been losing weight for 6 months. Fuck off. But like, maybe they have a thyroid issue, maybe this, but it is true that like, God, it's like so much cheaper to eat like shit here.
Yeah,
and
totally.
With food deserts and all that shit, it is a big problem.
Yeah, I think, there's a difference between, everybody should have the ability to feel comfortable with who they are. Nobody should be deprived of that. I think that's it's very important. And if you're overweight, if you're short, if you're fucking bald, if whatever, like fill in the blank characteristic that you think is a bad thing. Like everybody should be able to feel pride in themselves and should feel okay with who they are, no matter what the thing is. But obviously, being overweight can be unhealthy. And if your goal is to live a most satisfying life, then it is encouraged to do everything you can to be healthy, which is only going to hopefully increase your overall well-being. But that doesn't mean that if you're fat, there's anything wrong with you. That's like my whole.
We do it with other things in society, like smoking. We like shame the fuck out of tobacco, and we do it because it's like hypothetically a predatory industry that profits a lot off of people being unhealthy, and you could say the same about like a fast food company. I mean, it's arguably 1-for-1, like the amount of people they've killed.
Food is sustenance, though. I mean, some people can only afford to eat fast food, or like if you're in transit, if you're like whatever, if you're selling meats on the dock in Providence, Rhode Island,
once in a while,
there's only one place open.
Also, it's only
you get 12 eggs for $3. Like that's pretty good.
That is good.
True.
Yeah,
but like if you're trying to feed a family of like 6 and you work like 12 hours a day, it's going to be like hard on an ongoing basis to like cook things and make things. I was just going to say smoking's cool. So I wanted to post this up.
Well, smoking. So I think smoking is an interesting example here, because smoking, I've always been of the opinion, I have like a very complex opinion with smoking, and I realize it's a complex opinion with smoking, but I think of smoking through this existential lens, which is, smoking as a thing that if you are just like, hey, Phil, like I gotta take a smoke break, I'm going out back for 20 minutes, and you just sit alone by yourself, staring off into the middle distance, smoking, that's a bummer, right? But
what? That sounds nice.
I mean, it sounds awesome, but
it sounds super. It sounds sexy and cool.
That's true. That's true.
A little bit romantic.
But a lot of my experience with smoking, I don't smoke cigarettes, but I've always gone through phases in my life where I will smoke cigarettes, and I almost always have them with me. And the reason I have them with me, like I've had this pack of cigarettes for this is probably a 7-month-old pack of cigarettes.
Wow.
It's an icebreaker when you're trying to commit a crime too. That's why you
exactly.
Right?
It's an icebreaker when you're trying to commit a crime. But it is a social lubricant in social situations where sometimes it can be very hard for people to be social. So that's like my thing with cigarettes is even though they are really objectively bad for you, if I'm like going to a show in a small town or a town that I'm not from, I'll have cigarettes with me. So that if I see a bunch of people outside smoking cigarettes, I'll go out, I'll smoke a cigarette. I'll be like, hey man, can I bum a light? these guys are tight, right? Have you seen them before? I love them. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. Crazy, right?
Me and
Like,
Dog
where you
Boobs
from?
do the
I'm
same
from here,
thing.
right?
Me and Dog Boobs do the same thing at concerts, but with the yo-yos.
Yeah.
We just start chucking the bean,
Walking the
and
dog.
and people are like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." You're like,
They're like,
"Not
"Hey,
as cool
guys."
as this band, right? Hey, check this out. Rock the Cradle, rocking it." And then by the end of it, we're clubbing with the cool people.
Absolutely.
We're
Next thing I
clubbing.
know, we're doing E and going crazy. It's
E
great.
equals MC squared in my mind because I'm selling so much of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Ooh,
Partying.
that's a good lifestyle that I missed because of COVID. But anyway, but yeah, this is actually an interesting, appropriate segue, accidental segue into Ask Docs. So, Ask Docs, obviously. Now we're gonna let's start from the beginning here. Dog, let's bring it up, and then let's have you do the sidebar to get down to the basis of this, because you're the one you're the instigator of Ask Docs, I believe.
Yes, I am. I love this pod. I mean, the subreddit. It's
I love
called.
this pod.
I do love this pod, by the way. It's called Ask a Doctor, but the URL is askdocs, and it's basically have a medical issue, ask a doctor or medical professional on Reddit. All of the flared medical professionals on this subreddit are verified by the mods. So it's kind of like when you go on those websites that you can really ask a doctor, but it takes forever and they have horrible interface. It's like, instead of going through those shitty websites, it's like, oh, on Reddit, duh. People who use Reddit are from all different walks of life. They're going to be doctors, and here they are providing medical advice. So the good thing to say, obviously, is like none of this is like binding. They almost always say, like, by the way, I don't know you. I'm not your doctor. So this is just my advice, and you need to go see a doctor. And oftentimes they'll say, we're not going to give you advice. It's an emergency. Go to the doctor right now.
Yeah.
That feels baked into me. Like you don't. I get that people have to say that, but it's like we also get.
Yeah.
This is just,
well,
totally.
it's worth noting too, though, that there is a the flare on this. When it has physician marked, like this isn't it's not like a contrived thing. It's like you have to get confirmed as a physician, I believe.
Right.
So
not a chiropractor. I'm
not
talking
a dentist,
about
not a veterinarian,
not a dentist, not a veterinarian, a fucking doctor. Okay, the rest of you guys.
So you can certify that you are a physician to make sure that it's not just whatever. So anyway, but yeah. So this is, I mean, as I was saying at the beginning of this pod, I think that there's, for me, as I was going through this last night, I was seeing some interesting trends that I think were indicative of the way I think our system works right now, and why something like Ask Docs is such a valuable resource in the world of medicine. Because I think that there are all these new technologies popping up that can help fill the void. I don't know if you guys saw that there was news recently that Amazon is now selling prescription drugs.
Oh wow.
And that I think you get like an insane discount if you have Prime, essentially. So it's one of those things where they're now making up for the cost of things like diabetes medicine and all these. They're essentially a third market now for medicine, which is interesting. So, but the reason is because we have a big problem in the United States with the cost of healthcare. And so places like this, as Ask Docs, especially during COVID, I mean, I think that's the thing that, can't be understated with kind of the way that a site like this functions and kind of why we're talking about it today. This is not necessarily why we're talking about it today, but as you see through posts here, that is a common thread, which is, I want to go to my doctor. They can't get me in. COVID I can't go because of COVID, XYZ. What do I do? Right. And so the site can at the very least, kind of quell the concerns that I think sometimes come with these strange, enigmatic medical issues that people have, or these non-enigmatic medical issues that someone's like, my stomach in horrible pain. I don't know what to do. These are my symptoms, yada yada. So
yeah, and
so that's why it's interesting.
To your point, I looked up the stats on this one, and there's a huge spike in subscribers this year and over the past couple years, which I know healthcare has become like a big hot topic in the past couple years. So you're totally right. I mean, this place has become a lot more popular as like the healthcare crisis has become more of a thing. And if you look even at their comments per day, the spike just from like the last month is insane. So it's crazy. It's very popular right now.
I am seeing, yeah, I can see that it's definitely spiked. There's definitely a need for this. Also, you know, in general, like the sort of doctor, computer doctor thing has become more popular in the last 5-10 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're probably so encumbered by, you know, legal restrictions on what they can and can't say, et cetera, the cost, getting insurance, like all of the same restrictions you have in regular healthcare. But like, again, Reddit, like saving the day, because those legal restrictions are kind of lifted, it allows the freedom of more doctors to hang out here in a casual way and give advice like via groupthink. And I think because of that, you're going to get sort of a more like average answer. Cause you know, who wouldn't want to consult with 100 doctors?
Yeah.
Versus just 1 or 2. So here you can get 100. And even if 3 of them are quacks or 20 of them are quacks, the 80 are probably going to hone in on what's correct. And that's probably the best answer. And so again, like you have this like crowdsourced doctor thing going on here that Reddit does with everything, right? Like I had a mushroom in my backyard the other day and I got kids and I picked the mushroom and I was like, is this going to kill everybody or is this going to make my 4-year-old trip balls? And so I took a picture and I put it on Shroom ID, which is like a cool Reddit sub. And like people are like, yeah, that's a cool mushroom. You can eat it. Like no big deal. But
cool.
Give it to your kid, dude. It's a cool
Give
mushroom.
it to your kid, man. It'll change his life, change his POV forever. Woo! And so now my kid.
Make sure he's in a positive headspace, man.
Yeah, now my kid sells quesadillas at the fish shows, dude. He's on the road. He's killing it. So anyway, I think this like the sort of group think of this as like a mechanism is one of the sort of quintessential tentpole things that Reddit does better than anybody. And like in this scenario, it's perfect.
Yeah,
totally. And I think that's also, you know, as I've been going through this and as I'm thinking of even what you just said right there, it's like everybody, whenever you meet a doctor, like I feel like everybody has an impulse to go, you're a doctor?
Can you look at
checking out this thing that I have actually? Yeah, and
check out this mole behind my my butt crease.
My gooch.
And I think
my
that
gooch. I got a gooch mole.
I got a gooch mole. I mean, so there's, but that you know, that I think is kind of what's cool about this. I mean, there's a lot of things that are cool about this sub, honestly, and we're going to continue getting into them. And like I said, this could be a 2-parter because I think there's what brought this up is there's a very, very poignant, very heavy story that we found here that has kind of opened us up to it that I, quite frankly, I could not read the whole thing without crying. And so I had to stop reading it because I was having a hard time getting my shit together. So I think that is I think there's a lot of things about this sub that transcend the medical profession and are really about wellness and about health and about humanity and about what you do as a human as it pertains to your health that I think makes it really special. So,
and what we'll get into too on that post is if you're going through any health issue, you're typically alone or at like a sterile doctor's office. Like this support of regular people giving you like a high five or cheering you on is not part of the medical industry. Maybe in some cancer circles, they have like groups, but it's something you got to search out. Anyway, this, you know, in a way you get this community support here, which is different than any other healthcare industry tool.
Totally.
In a positive way.
So let's get into some of the posts. I think that
should we just kick it off with the guy with spots on his penis?
I was going to say, all joking aside, after we log off, go check your gooches because if there are moles there, you got to go check them out. Okay, just take a mirror.
What would you recommend?
No, if you see a mole on your gooch, that you know that kid that was really smart from high school that ended up becoming a doctor?
Yeah.
Call him up immediately.
Exactly.
Schedule a lunch.
Yep.
And before you even get into the like, what have you been doing for the last 10 or 12 years?
Yep.
Just go, hey, listen, there's a reason I want to talk to you today.
Yep.
Do I need a
I have this mole on my gooch.
I need a full length body mirror, yeah, for this.
Yes.
And then he'll be like, I'm a chiropractor, right? Be like, that's a doctor, right? You are a doctor.
You're
like,
a doctor
I'm a chiropractor.
that can look at
You're
my
like,
gooch, right?
A doctor. Can you look at my gooch? Yeah, exactly how it's gonna go.
Obviously.
I love it. So, but yeah. So I think let's go into some of the posts. I mean, I'm as much as we're joking, a lot of these posts are very serious, and again, like they're serious in a way that is, they're some of them are very serious medically, but they are also heartwarming. So why don't we just get into? There's one that I saw last night. I think actually you had sent it to us, Dog, about the woman who is dealing with domestic abuse.
Yes. That's a great and really interesting post, and something that I think a lot of people don't even consider, don't even think of a thing. Do you want me to share my screen?
Why don't you share your screen and then you can read it? Because what I love about this post is this is a good indication of, I think, what's special about a place like this, which is like, this is a medical question.
Yeah.
Ultimately, right?
It is.
But it's a medical question with context that then wraps it up in a way that a doctor is uniquely positioned to answer, but is not necessarily like the way that our world revolves around our own health is really interesting, because there are things like, end of life care, which this one is not about, but like end of life care is one of those things where like, hey, I'm sick, I have this thing. But then a doctor is the kind of person who goes, listen, I think it is worth talking to blank blank and so on and so forth about this stuff, because you're in a, they start giving you these big existential questions because they see your health as it's happening, right? So okay, so let's go into this one. So the title of this post is, can my GP, general practitioner, tell that I'm on birth control? Or wait, GP is general practitioner, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So can my GP tell that I'm on birth control?
All right. So 27, female, long story short, I'm leaving my physically abusive husband in 3 weeks, December 2nd to be exact. The plan is already set in motion, just a waiting game at this point to make sure that my son and I can leave safely. But I have a medical question. My husband decided he wanted another child about 13 months ago. Me, knowing I can't bring another child into this situation, have been taking my birth control continuously behind his back, playing stupid when all of the tests are coming back negative. Husband is now forcing me to go see our GP on Tuesday to be tested for fertility issues. I'd been putting it off for months, but I don't think I can get out of this one. Will they know I'm still taking my birth control? I know that I can request my husband not be in the room when I talk to my doctor, but that will be a really dangerous request considering the situation that I'm in right now. I still have to go home with him, and I can't raise any red flags when we're so close to escaping. I take the mini pill currently, so it's not hormonal. Will my doctor know this? I've been getting birth control through Planned Parenthood so as not to raise suspicion from my husband and have no paper trail. So my doctor doesn't actually know about the current prescription, but I'm not sure what fertility testing entails. I'm not sure what to expect, and I just need to make sure he isn't going to walk into the room and go, well, no wonder you're not pregnant. You're on birth control, because my husband will literally lose his shit if he finds out. That is the original post.
Woof, dude.
Yeah.
Woof.
So that's very heavy, and I think that's kind of what I mean about what makes this interesting is like this is a medical question. Like ultimately the question that's being asked is, can my doctor tell that I'm on birth control when they investigate my hormone levels to see if I have fertility problems, right?
And don't birth control pills. Aaron, resident woman here, maybe can answer this one, or Ben. Feel free.
I know.
But doesn't the birth control pills make your body think you're pregnant? So wouldn't the hormones be releasing pregnant style hormones? Like, isn't that the exact thing you could tell?
Pregnant style hormones.
Yeah. Here's a pregnant style hormone. You got that bologna hormone. You got a lot of French fries. You know, pregnant chicks with the French fries.
Style hormone. Anyway,
Animal style,
grilled onions, all the pregnant style.
So I think that is kind of true, like maybe in like layman's terms for hormonal birth control. But I know she said in her post that she's taking the mini pill, which is actually a non-hormonal birth control. So I don't know how that works personally, because I know like IUDs and I don't know about Nuva rings actually, but I know like IUDs are non-hormonal technically, and it's just in my imagination they just have those metal arms so they can swat sperm. Yeah.
It's like it actually looks like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he's just like swatting sperm away. Actually, sorry, it's Hakeem Olajuwon, and he just goes like no.
Yeah,
just smacking sperm. Dog moves.
That was you had 2 wrong basketball references in a row. That's actually Dikembe Mutombo. I did the no.
Oh, so you're saying that what's that little thing called? The little thing in your vagina?
I mean, there are so many little things inside the vagina.
There's a sub dedicated entirely to bad woman's anatomy. That in free day right now, IUD is the poster child of bad woman's anatomy.
You know the little thing they put up there? Yeah, it's Dikembe Mutombo. I love
Dikembe Mutombo. That's the name of the new brand they come out with.
It should be,
Dikembe Mutombo. Unbelievable. So the other part of this that I think is pretty interesting is I believe the more you get into her story, I think there are some other indications of a little bit of her situation when you're reading through the comments and kind of the way they're talking about what they need to do. From my understanding, I think this is, if I'm referencing the right one, she also lives in a small town, so like 20 minutes outside the city. Yeah, I believe is what she says. So, and then she's broke, I believe, so she can't. There are reasons. Oh yeah, there we go. So I think that this is. Let's read the update.
All right.
As I think it kind of gets back into a little bit of the world that we're talking about.
Yeah, because it sounds like somebody needs to just call the police.
Actually, that was never a suggestion in this. Like that was, I think
for step one is get the hell out of there with the cops and then go to a doctor. You know, like
I would say that there's a dramatic oversimplification of that, because I think that there's a small town living. You can't just call the cops on a domestic abuse husband because they probably go to the bar together, or at the very least, and B, I think that there's you can't. She's going to leave in 3 weeks. You can't really call the cops unless you're in a safe place that accommodates you potentially calling the cops. And so get into the update, dog, because I think it fills in a lot of these blanks.
It does, and the thing with domestic violence too is that period of when you're leaving is the most dangerous period of time for victims. And so, I mean, I know some people who have had to do that, and you really do have to do a lot of planning and get your ducks in a row, and then just bolt without letting anybody know anything.
Totally,
that's crazy.
Anyway, okay,
very dark.
Thank you, everyone, for the tremendous amount of support. It takes me a while to get back. Husband doesn't know about my Reddit account, so I have to be sneaky. I messaged my mother and asked her to call and let them know what was going on. The doctor, I'm assuming, based on some feedback, to call the doctor and let him know what's going on. I begged her to stress the importance of either rescheduling or not saying anything about my birth control. No idea what's going to happen, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I know a lot of people mentioned trying to get in touch myself and reschedule, but I'm not sure how that would work. I'd have to ask them to call my husband and lie about having to reschedule. My husband made the appointment and he is in control of everything. They have his phone number for everything. My phone isn't even hooked up to the provider. I can only use it with Wi-Fi. He thinks I only use it for games. The amount of control he has has become insane since COVID started, but I will update when I can again. For those of you asking about my escape, my mother just moved in January to a different state. My husband and I have not gone to visit her yet, so he doesn't know where she lives. As soon as I was able to get in contact with her and she told me this, I knew it was my perfect opportunity to leave safely. She also decided to change her last name back to her maiden name. My parents have recently have been divorced for years so that he can't trace her. My husband also refused to sign the birth certificate for our son when he was born because he was convinced I was cheating. So there's no legal right to him. I can take him wherever I want and he can file for it later if he wants, but at least I won't have unbiased police surrounding me in my new town. The reason I have to wait 3 weeks is because I have no car, no phone, no access to money, and we live 20 miles outside of town. That's pretty remote.
Totally.
The soonest my mom can afford to come and get my son and I is December 2nd. Because she's literally on the other side of the country and she can't afford to fly and get a rental car. So she's driving and the drive itself takes 2 days.
Dang.
Yeah.
Those are some big freaking obstacles to overcome.
So this person's in like a real tough scenario. And so that I think is what makes, again, this post so profound is the medical question is really the question that she's asking at the core of this is, will I be in danger if I go to the doctor?
Yeah.
Because of these outstanding things.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, the doctor too, in this scenario, I feel like they have an obligation or a right to know about domestic abuse in a private way. I mean, there's got to be a way she can speak with a doctor. And, as a lady, back to bad lady advice, she could sort of mask it as like, I have a thing in my thing. Can you, and the husband's like, I'm out of here. I gotta go. Right. And then maybe, how husbands be.
Well, maybe,
but
maybe not. I mean, because
it feels like there's an opening there with talking to the doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like if you're a victim of physical abuse, you are terrified, and
I get it. Yeah.
The risk.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it would work, but maybe if you've been hit for years.
Here's what I'll say. If she has if she has an opening and the husband wants to go, take a smoke break, maybe it's worth mentioning something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also don't know if I actually would be surprised if there weren't laws in place about disclosing too much information to doctors because so much of what is implied with a medical issue can usually be a lifestyle orientation thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't want to go to the doctor and then be like oh wow, like you have arthritis in your right arm, you must be jerking off a lot, man. Do you jerk off a lot? You're medically obligated to tell me. You'd be like, no, I'm not. Like, leave me alone.
Please wax.
No, but I think
and so I think that
if you're coming in with black eyes,
legally allowed to. Well, but I don't know, man, because I mean, black eye, like if there's
let's do this. If the doctor says, are you being hit by your husband? And he's like, you don't have to tell me, but like not if you want me to help or something. Like she has to say help. I think that's what you're saying. He can't just assume to call. But if she asks for help, I think then if you're a decent person, I don't know why you wouldn't call Sheriff Bumblefuck.
I think
it's very challenging though, man, because you can't exactly HIPAA laws.
Privacy laws.
I don't know where she would. It sounds like this person is in a situation where she has a son as well, which, she's worried about her child. And it sounds like if she were to tell the doctor, I'm in a physically abusive relationship, I need help, I need to get out of here. It's not like the doctor's going to be like, all right, I'm going to store you at this Motel 8. We're going to get the cops to go to your house. I'm not going to let it's going to be a situation where it's like she's not going to know where to go.
No, in the Kevin Costner version of this movie, he takes her to his ranch. And,
right.
I want to see the Kevin Costner version for sure. Right. I would fucking die for that.
Because he's a good guy,
Yeah, and kind of what It's Your Dad was saying about the cops in a small town. It's like we're also imagining this is a small town clinic or a small town GP. Totally. So I'm trying to think of who that could possibly be in my imagination. They might not have the most delicacy when it comes to like in the moment, having maybe just a moment in passing in the hallway to be like, hey, don't tell my husband I'm on birth control because he beats me. Right. Like it might not.
Let's put it this way, because I am from one of these places. I'm from a very small town. So I can tell you my family practitioner growing up, my GP was a kid on my little brother's soccer team's dad.
Oh, damn.
So you end up having these situations. And most people, I think in town were a little bit like that, where the doctor had a relationship with a lot of people other than being a doctor.
Right.
And so there's just there's a level of, Totally. And it would become one of those things like if my mom had ever gone to like Dr. Claire and been like, my husband is causing, domestic abuse, like I don't know if she would have felt safe in saying that because the connections were so deep in other ways. And it's just like a lot. I mean, it's very tough. It's very challenging. I mean, I totally get this, but anyway, so this is this is a very interesting one. I'm going to bring up another one that I find really interesting, and a bit. So actually, Dr. Spachman brings up an interesting question. I wonder if they have contacts at local women's shelter resources at the hospital, even a nurse. I don't know. Really tough situation. I mean, it is. I mean, this is. I also don't know this, but I also would say. We don't know where this person's ultimately from. Like they could be from a town like where I'm from, and I could not tell you where a local women's shelter was where I was from. And even if I could, I would say that local women's shelter doesn't necessarily seem like a safer place because usually they're underfunded. Usually they're not like a safe place. They're like in a holding pen for legal matters and shit. You know what I mean?
I think
totally.
I don't know. I bet doctors deal with this more than anybody could know, and police deal with this probably a ton, like specifically domestic abuse. I bet they have the playbook and they're sensitive to sort of the code of it all, and they understand the danger. Right. I mean, I think that trying to leave, like Dogwood said, is the dangerous time. So
let's take a look at what some of the doctors suggested because let's
do it.
I'm interested to see. I kind of want to see, the top. We have other people commenting, but I kind of want to see what only the doctors are commenting.
Yeah.
So
how do you do that? How do you sort only by doctors?
I don't know exactly, but I know that it's tagged with this green position.
Nice green thing.
Yeah. Okay. So this doctor, Fruna 13, is a physician, and they say a physical. This is nice. This is like kind of interesting. Gets at the medical question. A physical exam won't show anything amiss, and your blood work might show that your progesterone is high, but not why. The mini pill doesn't have any estrogen. I don't know ever how to. Is it just estrogen? Estrogen?
That's the Canadian way of spelling it, I think.
Ask Frida. He knows all these things about estrogen. For women.
I went to medical school.
Okay, cool. So it doesn't have estrogen, but it does have hormones, namely progesterone. Those can be tested, but the cause itself won't show up. Importantly, there's no way for you to have the testing done and then get the results back before 3 weeks. Because as said elsewhere, those tests need to be done on a specific day of your cycle. More importantly, your GP can and should help you in this situation. Freed. If there's a way you can safely communicate your situation to them, I recommend you do it. If that's not an option, this is one of the few scenarios in which I can tell you, lie to them. Your safety is the first priority, and if talking to your doctor can endanger that, then don't. I wish you all the best in your efforts to leave, and know that you are definitely worth it as is your kid.
Interesting. So it's kind of like how we said. So on the estrogen front, this okay, so it's either called estrogen, estrogen, or estrogen, which is just the same word with an O in front. And you can use either one. I'm sure if you're a doctor, you say estrogen because people go, "What's that?" And you go, "Well, I learned it in medical school." You idiot. I'm a doctor. Yeah, it's estrogen. I don't know why. There's just two versions of spelling. So
I love that. Actually, you're right. So, it's a reason for doctors to sound smarter.
It is. So, but yeah. So what she said is, if there's an opening to talk to your GP, definitely do it. If it's going to cause, potential threat, don't do it. Your safety.
Good news is you can lie, and there's no way your doctor's going to be like, "What are you talking about, sister? I can see what brand right here on the X-ray."
Yeah. Open your wallet.
Your X-ray is filled with birth control.
Also said here, buddy, you smoke cigarettes.
Woman's husband, she's on birth control. Yeah. Check out this X-ray.
Up here, the pills are all collected up there.
It also said she's been hitting the Subway seafood sampler quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. You want to talk about that?
You know this.
So
infuriating.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting, very, very interesting place to I mean, again, getting down to the core of this subreddit, this is an interesting place to be fielding these kinds of questions because you do have, again, like this is what's powerful about this, and it like this. The way I think about this is it is the cartilage, because you can still go to Ask WebMD, right? And they're going to give you a very clinical answer, but you're not going to have the human response that I think is necessary to really contextualize how to handle the situation. So the one I'm gonna ask this one, or I'm gonna read this one right now. It is one I saw last night. I don't think you presented this one to us, Dog, or you didn't share this one, but this one was one that like hit me in my guts. So and this is, I think, another really interesting example because this one is again, this is the cartilage between what a doctor can really answer in person because of the nature of this is like a systematic problem, right? Which is you don't have the time, you don't have a consultant to sit with that you talk to. You just have a doctor who will be like, all right, good talking to you. They shake your hand, they walk out, they go see another patient, right?
Right.
So 33 male asking about a 29 female's death. So I have a request for the medical community, in particular an emergency room doctor. 3 years ago, my wife died. When we found her, she was unresponsive. This was early morning after a long and strenuous talk between she and I. I made her breakfast, gave it to her daughter to bring up to my mom, or gave it to her daughter to bring up to mom. The daughter came back down and said mom was acting weird. She was unresponsive. I gave her CPR while calling the ambulance. The ambulance arrived and they brought her to the hospital. She was pronounced dead there right in front of me. Every day I try not to wonder about things, but this is the one day a year that I permit the thoughts to linger for more than a moment. Originally, I would have gone to the hospital to ask this, but given the current dumpster fire the United States is in, I thought it was best to go up here. I thought it best not to go up there. I was hoping to be able to talk with an ER doctor about what happened. I have all of her files from that day. It's a stack of EKG readings, the notes from the 911 officer, the hospital, etc. And I just have questions. My wife suffered from myotonic dystrophy and an undiagnosed long QT rhythm. I found out later it's a genetic trait that the family has that they don't really know. She had polycystic ovarian syndrome. She was 5'9", somewhere around 200 pounds. She was probably malnourished as she was on a diet trying to lose weight. I was very stressed from that week because of work, family, diet, and I was out of town. And in case there isn't something you want to broach with someone, my questions aren't around procedure or blaming any doctor or medical staff. They're just morose pondering. Was she conscious when she died? Did she know she was dying? Could knowing anything about the long QT change anything? I hurt. My existence hurts. Our family hurts. And it's been 3 years. And this is really the one day I permit myself to get into this slump. And it's probably going to hurt. It's probably something, or it's probably going to suck to ask or talk about, but I got to know. So if anyone's willing to hop on a call and or look at some paperwork, I'd be greatly appreciative of it. Day after edit. The question has been answered. So to those that I didn't get to reply before the thread was locked, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your personal insights, your concerns, any personal experience or any professional experiences. I got what I needed for today. I'm going to take it's going to take me a few days to get myself back together, but thank you. So really sad. It's a really sad piece, but you know, the power in this is like it's for a doctor. But like, you don't go to an ER just to be like, I just want to know, was my wife in pain when she died 3 years ago? Right. They're going to be like, I would love to talk to you, man, but I don't have time. And you're on the clock right now. This is too expensive for you. I'm sorry, you know?
Shit.
So this is a place that, you know, you get that kind of answer. So, so some of the top comments here, so this is a physician. This is the top comment. It's posted 18 hours ago, by the way. So this is actually this is a brand new post.
Wow,
actually.
yeah, not even a day old.
20 hours ago. So I'm very sorry for your loss. It must still hurt so deeply even 3 years later. I agree with my colleagues that knowing her medical history, it seems likely she died due to her long QT syndrome. What was QT again? What did they say that was?
I think it's a weird heart issue that she and her family had. It was like genetic.
Cool.
Long
This is a problem with the heart's electrical system, which, when triggered, causes a sudden abnormal heart rate, an arrhythmia, which is very rapid. The heart cannot sustain blood flow to the brain and the organs when this occurs. Most people who die from this become unconscious very quickly. She may have had a brief period where she felt lightheaded or felt heart palpitations, but it is unlikely to have been painful. She may have been aware that something was wrong, but she did not likely spend a long time knowing she was dying. If she had known about the long QT syndrome, she may have gotten an implanted defibrillator. Other family members should be tested for this to see if they need one too. It sounds like some of them already have. It's also important to avoid certain medications when someone has a history of a long QT syndrome. Many common medications, including antibiotics, anti-nausea medications, and antidepressants, can lengthen the QT and make someone more likely to have an abnormal heart rhythm. I'm happy to take a look at the paperwork you have. I'm not sure how much clarity I will give, but I can take a look.
Wow.
So
here's
I like this response. Was that?
A long QT syndrome, I just Googled real quick. It's a heart rhythm disorder that can potentially cause fast, chaotic heartbeats, which can result in fainting, seizures, or sudden death.
Yeah. So this is the scary thing about this sub is like you see stories like this and you're just like, oh, what if I have it? Do I have it? And there is an exercise in hypochondria that obviously is pretty disadvantageous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is a good way. You don't want to fall into that trap, right? Like, because I think that is a dangerous thing as you look at this. And I know I personally have this experience all the time because my dad died of ALS. So I have this little ticking sensation in my brain at all times where like, I'll be like, my arm kind of feels weird. I'll be like, oh no, is this it? Is this the one?
Shit.
Which is, really not it's not a good impulse, obviously, but that's also like you have to train yourself out of that.
Right.
But that's a little bit of a like cautionary tale for people who are maybe more susceptible to that kind of thinking, not to use this sub in that way, because this sub, you might fall victim to that. Because there are other stories here of just like weird medical anomalies that you're just like, is it possible that I have that thing? I don't want to die, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing that I love about the post,
yeah. Well, based on that, I'm sure there are hypochondriacs that hang out here for the thrill of it, and just are maybe
sure.
There's probably like a fetish side to this. It all seems pretty above board, but
askdocs gone wild.
Yeah, askdocs, NSF dub. But I'm sure doctors deal with that also. Just people who sort of consistently want to just get the feedback.
And
I don't think it's popular here, but
most doctors are probably compassionate people, of course. I actually personally know some doctors that are not compassionate people, oddly enough.
I think what you just said, though, is the expectation is that they're compassionate. The reality is probably they're more mechanical and practical a lot of the time, which I think there's always a disconnect. Like doctors tend to be like a mechanic diagnosing a car sometimes, like do X, Y, and Z. And people are like, but I want to eat ice cream and do my pills. They're like, well, you'll die. And it's like, that wasn't that nice, but there's like a reality that you can't emotion yourself out of, but the empathy does help too. And I think they don't maybe learn that in medical school.
Yeah.
And what about, subreddits and being a moderator at a subreddit and kind of a lot of the relationship that people have with high trafficked subreddits is like, you have to kind of make it a lifestyle a little bit. And I think that doctors, because of the Hippocratic Oath and I think the way that they just think, like certain doctors, they just inherently really, really want to help people. So they will linger in places like this because probably a little bit of the thrill, but also because, they want to help. I have like my general practitioner is fucking amazing. And he's like just a guy. Literally, I will like talk to him on the phone or I'll like go in and see him and we just like chat about whatever bullshit, and he'll be like, well, you're maybe a little bit overweight, but like, look at me, man, I'm a little bit overweight. So like, here's what I do.
This is America. Everyone's a little bit overweight. Come on.
He's like,
and so, but I also like, I went to school with this girl that I was really, really good friends with. And I remember I have this distinct memory of her talking about why she was going. Well, actually, I was talking about where she wanted to do her residency because she was in med school, and I knew her background. Where I have this kind of like I have a hypothesis of the American ambition system that there are a lot of people who were just told they were smart from a young age, and then you're just like, you should go be a doctor, and they're just like, I don't want to be a doctor, but I guess that's my route to success, so I'm going to be a doctor, right? And so you have all these people who become doctors as like an obligation to the feeling of success in America, instead of because they want to be a doctor. And this girl I know was like that, where she was like pretty smart.
Yeah.
She was a smart girl. She worked extremely hard. But she was from like a wealthy Long Island household. And I remember talking to her about where she was going to do a residency. And she was like, she straight up was like, I don't want to do a residency in a place with poor people because I don't want to tell them how to take care of themselves, because it's just going to be a pain. And I was just like, dude, why are you a doctor? Like, I don't understand what you're doing.
I want to do my residency in either Santa Monica or Brentwood or maybe the Palisades, because
I mean, that was literally her perspective. She was like, I want to be around rich people. That makes it easy. And I was just like, yo, you don't want to be a doctor at all, lady.
No.
It's an interesting. I don't know if she realized this, but it's an interesting insight into the medical world. Like anybody who's entering the medical space, if that's a paramedic, a fireman, a cop, a doctor, like the people you're dealing with are not having their best day. 90% of them. There's some people that cut themselves. But for the most part, you're dealing with old people. They're fucking oozing and dying and shitting themselves. And it's like, you got to get past all that, because that's most of it. I think then there's this small section of like, the hot dude, Rob Lowe, doesn't come in every day. We all want to be checking his gooch. Man,
who wouldn't want to check Rob Lowe's gooch? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'd like to. Swim there.
I mean, this is also another thing that you see a lot on this subreddit is there are a lot of non-doctors that are medical professionals as well, and medical professionals being like the kind of broad category, right? Where there are paramedics, there are nurses, there are other people who are like, I think it is again there's a curiosity, but there's also like a desire to learn more about people. Yeah. There's a desire to help people, broadly speaking. And my best friend, like one of the 69 boys, Nate, he's a nurse.
Nate's great, dude.
Nate,
he is. That's awesome.
And he's interesting because I think that he's a naturally extremely compassionate person regardless.
Wow.
So he's like a very good person. So I don't think that he is like, he's at all, I'm like his implication though, the reason he got into nursing, I don't think is necessarily like, I just want to help people, but he has always put himself in the most difficult nursing situations.
Wow.
As he and I have been talking about this, I feel like it's been getting to him a little bit because he sees some heavy shit. Like he's worked in emergency rooms, he's worked in psych wards. Like those are the two places that he's worked as a nurse. And so, I was talking to he was living with this guy for a while who was also a nurse. And he was telling these stories, like they would have these stories where like he was an inner city emergency room nurse during the night shift. So he would have fucking people come in, and his buddy, I don't think this happened to Nate, but his buddy was like, somebody came in one day with bullet wounds and was literally about to die. And the doctor, I was the one that was the main nurse in the emergency room. The doctor was like, he opened up his chest and was like, I need you to grab his heart and pump it with your fingers. You have to pump it with your fingers right now. So he was just like, oh, okay. So literally like grabbing his heart and manually pumping it to get the blood going. And then, I mean, this guy died, but then Nate was telling me when he got up in the morning to go to work or go do something, he like walked out and the guy's shoes and like all the shit was just sitting outside, and it was like a fucking bloody mess because you get home from these long days and you just like,
you don't really,
and then and you become desensitized. Like I think that desensitization is an interesting thing because you become desensitized, but it's like you become desensitized to a point, and then at a certain point, I think most people that have become desensitized have a little bit of a realization where they go, you know what it is like because I have a feeling like this every once in a while with like what I do for my job, or like basic everyday things. Like COVID's a good example, where you're just like, you're kind of like, all right, it's normal, whatever, everything's fine, and then you have like you have a good day,
Yeah.
and then the good day is what actually fucks you up, because you've been desensitized so much that good day you go, what was different about today? I feel so great, and you're just like, oh, I walked outside,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you go, fuck, man.
Yeah.
And then that's what pulls you back down. I think Nate lately has just been like,
Fuck.
I think he's just aware of like how hard it is seeing like people die all the time, and how hard it is seeing people like, some really sad, devastating, heavy stuff that you can't really stop. Like you can't like, when somebody comes in and they go, my husband's been feeling weird, and then the doctor goes, oh, he has a brain tumor, he's got 2 days to live, right? And then Nate has to go out and be like, I'm sorry, you know what I mean? And like, and those, and I just like can't even imagine, and
Mm-mm.
yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. I mean, it's a really odd thing. I mean, because it just changes the way, like, how does it change your relationship with what it is to die, what it is to be healthy, what it is to feel,
Yeah.
feel emotional pain, what it is to like see. I mean, he, again, like Nate, I mean, maybe I can even have him on the pod sometime. We can talk about this, but like he he has crazy story. I mean, he also has these hilarious stories too. Like he has tons of really funny stories of like, some of my favorite stories that he's told me are things like around Lollapalooza weekend, because he used to live in Chicago. If you're right, around Lollapalooza weekend, there's always like somebody who comes in who like had an edible and like had never eaten an edible before, and they go, I'm dying, doctor, and you just go, he's just like, all right, sit down, and then he like looks in, and they're like staring around, and he's just like, oh, kids, but because he was an inner city emergency room doctor, he had a lot of gunshot victims, like young kids that would come in because of gang warfare and shit, and they would be like, DOA and
Dead on
kind of blue line. And he also told me once, like, there was I don't remember how because when early COVID happened, I mean, he was kind of like one of the frontline guys, obviously, like kind of he lives in Seattle now, so he was in the Seattle when all the COVID stuff was happening, and he would tell me, I don't remember what I think it was like a blue line or something, but there's in the hospital,
code blue.
I think I want it. It's code blue, but I think there's literally an alert that happens like over the intercom, or a light that lights up, like something like that. That's like a little inconspicuous, but nurses and doctors know that when this light goes, or when they hear this alarm or this alert, it means somebody's dying, and everybody has to go do it, right?
Whoa.
And I just like can't imagine. Like you get used to it, of course, but like that, I think, is what's so interesting again about this sub, is there always are questions, because triage is a real thing. Someone gets sick, you go in, you go, that person's too sick, we can't help them, we have to help these 3 other people. It's just how it is. And I think during COVID in particular, it's just introduced so many. It's just this like the saddest thing of COVID, which I think some people talk about, but like I don't think enough people talk about, is the dying alone because you can't let anybody in. Like that is fucking so insanely sad.
Oh, so sad.
It's so sad. And these poor people, sometimes they're old, sometimes they're not. And the saddest thing, I mean, we kind of accidentally hit it on it earlier, Fareed, when you were talking about this, about the chubby Asian guy from the earlier video that we watched. There's a lot of sympathy.
I always tend to be ahead of the curve on these
combos. Are ahead of the curve. But there's a, like, seeing somebody who is unhealthy but well-intentioned and just couldn't, like, didn't get what they, like, just wasn't.
If you're a doctor for that guy and you go, hey man, well, you're you're 32. You might not live to be 55 at this rate.
Totally.
And he goes, give me the ice cream. You go, what can I do? And you see that every day,
right?
Constantly. I do think doctors get a bad reputation for maybe being unempathetic sometimes, but I think you have to be. I think it's probably a defense mechanism. If it's all empathy all the time, you're seeing death,
well,
death.
You
people dying.
You can't be empathetic all the time. Yeah,
it'll crush you. So it's probably a response to the reality of their jobs in a way, and dealing with somebody who's continually harming themselves and not doing anything to change it. It's only a matter of time until you come in here with a heart attack or whatever. And so it's that to me, it seems like what your friend who wanted to work in Brentwood was talking about was maybe she didn't want to deal with the uphill battle of it all, which is I don't know, it's her choice, but it's a weird reason to get into medicine. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the whole, that's again, exactly what I'm saying. It's some people become lawyers because they want to help, and some people become lawyers because
I want the Mercedes AMG station wagon.
Yeah,
and
I think it's
became a lawyer.
The same thing happens with doctors, right? Where it's some people are just I'm
in it for the chicks.
You're telling me that if for the chicks. I mean, you're telling me if I become a doctor, I get $400K to start.
It's all
becoming a doctor, right? And it's just
you're a smart kid. Were you good at math? Be a doctor. Were you bad at math? Be a lawyer.
Honestly, that's exactly what it was. And so, and it's an interesting thing. So I think the sub is kind of the best version of doctors from what I can feel. But so what I propose. So we're gonna run out of time before we hit our big one, which is okay, because we're gonna split this into 2 episodes just so everybody knows. The second episode of Ask Doctors, we're gonna really talk about a series of posts by a poster here that is a really profound look at the relationship between the medical industry and someone's end of life experience. And it is really, really touching and really, really sad. So I think we can't do it justice in 12 minutes, honestly. So I'd rather actually do it for our next episode. But before we close this one out, let's talk a little bit about maybe another post, because I do think that this, again, like every sub we do, to be honest, we can't sum it all up in one episode. We can't sum it up in 10 episodes. I think Ask Docs can be its own podcast, to be honest, because there's so much that you can kind of get into about all the different nuances here. Another one I wanted to bring up that I saw, unless you guys, is there another one that you guys thought was interesting?
I think, well, as a function of this site, I thought if I was a medical student, I might hang out here, to try to brush up on my skills of just speaking a language and being able to spot things. I think a big part of the job is can you spot consistencies or trends or patterns? And if I was, I would recommend any med students or anybody in this world, maybe peruse this space. Which I don't know.
I mean, it's an interesting one, but I mean, Dog, do you have any else that you want to look at? Because I had a couple. I had another one that is interesting, but I don't know if it's interesting. But I would like, I know that you were kind of the initiator of this sub. So
I have one that I kind of relate to personally that I want to
peek behind the curtain.
I know we don't have to talk about it in depth or anything, but I think it's an interesting issue. This is the post, and it's, why won't you let me get my tubes tied?
Oh, interesting. Fascinating.
So that is something I've heard a lot. I personally don't want children, and it would be awesome to just take care of that. And the reason a lot of women who want to do that are literally told no, because you're too young, or no, because what if you get married someday and your husband wants kids? These are still things said to women today. So
I mean, the second one is a bizarre answer. The first one is interesting because I don't know. This is where bad women's anatomy comes in, where I don't know the process. I know that with vasectomy.
Well, okay, let me explain. Have you ever had a knot in your sweatpants that you couldn't get out? That is kind of like trying to untie your tubes from getting tied. It's basically impossible. Okay, so once you do it, you cannot undo it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you.
So
got
is it
moving on.
because with a vasectomy you can reverse a vasectomy, correct?
It's not guaranteed, but it's easier to reverse.
I think you can, but I don't think it's easy.
Yeah. I don't think it's possible to really get your tubes untied. You're basically permanently sterilized. The problem with this is it's assuming from a doctor's perspective that you understand your patient who is a legal adult and what they want to do to their body more than they do. I will say what the answer I got. So let me just share what this person said. The reasons I've heard so far: I'm too young. Problems with this: I'm 23, and as long as I'm over 18, I can make my own medical decisions. So I asked for a boob job, liposuction, mastectomy. I could get one. Reason: I may change my mind when I'm older. Problems with this: I have no interest in pregnancy. It looks horrible. Pregnancy is dangerous, especially for Black women, and I'm a Black woman. If I do, on the off chance you're right, then I'll face the consequences of that choice because I'm a fucking adult. That's how life works. I need to discuss it with my husband first. Problems with this: I'm not fucking married, and it's stupid. Reason: I should just take birth control. Birth control is unbearable. The hormones, the weight gain, the headaches, the nausea, the period symptoms get worse. The acne, it hurts. Sex drive goes down. Everything is horrible. Men want to get vasectomies and they aren't offered birth control. They get vasectomies. So this is basically that person's post. So this is actually a great response from a doctor. After adequate counseling, sometimes I make super young couples do a short waiting period, like 2 months, where you would go to maybe discuss it with a counselor. I'll tie anyone's tubes. And I'm like, that's, I think, a very...
That sounds like an entrepreneur right there.
I know. Because I'm like, that seems healthy. Like, I understand it is a very, it's a likely like permanent thing. And it's something that seems to most people to be like the reason for living, having kids. So like, I get why some doctors in their personal opinions think this is such a huge decision to make at a young age. But I think this is a great way to kind of meet in the middle is accept you're an adult, know this is a very serious medical procedure that has permanent consequences. So do some counseling to make sure you're not making a rash decision or a decision in like, I don't know, like a manic state, and you do your thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in a way. I mean, there are other analogs, I guess, to this that are kind of similar in a way. I mean, I would say one would be a tattoo, which is like not. It's not. I don't want to trivialize getting your tubes tied. That's not what I'm saying. But like,
I was gonna bring it back to the Ben Affleck Phoenix tattoo.
Like,
did he go through counseling in a 2-month waiting period because he should have?
Well, you get a big tattoo in a very visible place. I mean, usually, I will say, like, I've heard stories of tattoo artists that somebody walks in, they go, "I'm gonna get a fucking huge face tattoo. It's my first tattoo." They go, "No, you're not. I'm not doing that."
Because
I would have a sign that says no face tattoos.
Yeah,
that would be my policy.
You're right.
I mean, so that I think is one version of it. I mean, I think another one is the transition surgeries, where this is a very big political hot topic, of course. And I'm also not making any commentary, but I think that this is
the young people,
Well, this is the way people talk about it, is like, when someone really, really young wants to transition, you will often hear kind of the Ben Shapiro's of the world go, "They're going through a phase, like, don't let them do it." But they can, I mean, if they want, and then they're permanently like that. I mean, I think that there's some existential conversations that go into this, of course, which is, when you choose to do something permanent to your body that changes that shuts down a pathway for you in life, of course it deserves conversation. Like, there's no doubt about it. And I don't think that, like, I mean, I also don't want a world where you walk in to your OBGYN and be like, "I'm getting my tubes tied. I don't give a shit."
Like, get your ass back here.
Let's do it.
Hello, everybody.
I mean,
Simpsons doctor is in there. He's like, "Yeah, give me cash. I don't care." I mean, that's how we got into the OxyContin pandemic, and
it is quite literally how I mean, it's how that happened in a way, for sure. And I think that there's, like, you wouldn't want it to spiral out of control. But I think it's really important. Anything you do that's like this is super fucking important. I feel the same way about abortion, right? Where I'm like, I'm very pro-choice with abortions, but I do think that it's very important that the doctor who's giving the abortion doesn't just go, sure, sit down, I'll take 10 minutes. You want a fucking beer? Let's have a beer, right? Like you need to go, all right, let's talk about what this is going to do to your body. Let's talk about what's going on so that you are informed while we go into this process, right?
Really?
And I don't think it's a matter of like me as a male trying to make a choice for somebody. I think it's a matter of like the more information you have, the better you are equipped to make decisions about your body in an informed way.
Yeah.
Period. And that doesn't mean trying to talk somebody out of it. I'm not saying like bring somebody from the church in to say like, here's everything that's going to happen to your soul if you abort this child. I think it's a like just to make sure you understand what I'm about to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the same, you do the same thing with any major surgery, right? If I go in and like get my kidney removed, right? They're gonna go, all right, here's all the paperwork. We're gonna explain a little bit about what happens when you get your kidney removed, and like how this works, right?
If they say, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
You're like, yeah, I'm
Totally.
selling it to a guy on the internet for 16 grand.
That's
Of course I want to do it.
I need a PS5, Doc.
I need a PS5.
I gotta sell my kidney.
Can we spend 1 minute at the end of this pod talking about PS5 just as a total? Because I'm confused, and then
okay.
But let's finish this conversation.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, again, this is a very interesting part of the Ask Docs subreddit. Is like that is a medical question, but it is not really the kind of question you can get answered at a hospital or a doctor's office. Like it is something you kind of need asked through an institutional lens, right?
Yeah.
Like the same thing. I mean, when I'm thinking about some of the things that I would like to ask on this subreddit, some of the things I think about are these lingering medical questions that I've always had, which is like, my dad died of ALS.
right.
What should I be worried about genetically, right? I've been taking this fucking brain pill for 10 years without a lot of research into what it does. Like, should I be worried? Right? Like, I would like doctors to be able to say that because I'm not going to call my GP and be like, hey, Sean, how you doing, man? Hey, listen, I have this like question. Can I like come in and ask you? He'd be like, I mean,
Do you have something for me to?
yes, but
see?
I don't. Yeah, exactly. Like, and of course, nobody wants to do that because it's a fucking pain in the ass. So it's very interesting. But anyway,
I like that.
I think so.
You get feedback from this site, and then you go to your doctor, and you
Right.
go, "Look,
And
I've been on Reddit, Ask a Doctor, quite a bit, so I'm pretty much sure."
Right.
And your doctor's like, "What's a Reddit?"
Yeah.
And
exactly.
and then they scoff at you for getting internet answers. But in a way, there's this could be better. Only because it's a group of
Right.
doctors. What I like about it.
Totally. So like I mentioned 1,000 times now, this is not the end of this sub for us. We're going to be doing next week. We will be discussing the tale of username medthrowaway87EI, right? Starting with this post, the post being Suboxone patient dying of cancer, concerned about polliation. And ending with update on Robbie from Sherry, and 41-year-old Suboxone patient with lung cancer. I don't mean to keep pestering the sub, but I thought I'd drop to say goodbye. The cancer's in my heart and central cardiovascular area. It's over, which is one of the most powerful things I've ever read on Reddit. And we're going to read the whole thing, and we're going to go through our thoughts on it, some of the things that I think it says, and some of the way it makes us think about life. And it is truly one of the, I mean, like I said, like I went to bed last night like crying. Like my tear ducts are basically calcified. Like I straight up don't cry. And I was reading this and I was just like,
Hey, fuck
I can't
yeah, dude.
keep it together.
Fuck yeah.
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 Fucking crying's for
Man
bitches.
stuff, crying's for babies. But no, it's a tough read, but it's a really important one, and I think a really powerful and special thing on Reddit that I think is like again, like one of the most powerful things I've ever read. So but we'll get to that next week. So what do you want to know about PS5? everything.
Well, there's a lot of posting going on about like there's this nice post on the front page about this guy who played video games with this other guy and he gave him a PS5 and it's one of those like nice Reddit stories. But getting the PS5 is my first question. Why is it so hard to get?
So getting the PS5, this is the latest generation in the PlayStation series. The PS4 probably came out about a decade ago now. I'm not sure the exact date, but it's been a long time.
Oh, it's that long. Oh, I didn't realize
it's been at least a decade since the PS4.
Okay.
And so when the PS5 and then the Xbox Series X, I believe, came out at the same time, it's always kind of the console wars, but the PS5 is like the creme de la creme. And part of the reason being it is like I have tried to get it for the last 2 weeks and I have alerts set.
How much we dropping on this sucker?
Well, they're going for retail value. I mean, it's like $4.99 and $3.99, okay. I believe. But
it's like a hard drive
get
edition.
Them. You straight up cannot get them.
And that's
the
because
people that I know who have got them happened by freak happenstance. And I think it's probably partly a COVID supply chain issue.
Okay.
I've also read that evidently Japan, so it's Sony PlayStation. So they create every PlayStation in Japan.
Fuck yeah.
And
that's why it's the best, dude. We're all weeboos here. Best. We get it.
But they hand assemble all of them. So I think it's a little bit of like it's not, I mean, basically what they were saying is like, we don't do the manufacturing in China. So it just takes longer. And I just think it's like, there's such a hot commodity.
It's good for
you can order pre-deliver or pre-order and it'll come in February, like late February.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Spakaman, Spacham, and thanks for listening, pal. Good having you around. Good having a fellow doctor on our sub today, or a fellow doctor on our pod. Really appreciate your contributions to the medical community.
Yeah. Good luck on your morning Zoom, bro.
Lucky morning Zoom. I think it's a
pants
lady. It's a they.
Oh, they.
Anyway, but I do think the PS5
really
is just
mean,
it's impossible to get it right now. So
okay, and then everyone, it only drives the want up, I would think, and then people, and then it's just like a sweet ass system. Is that what the kids are saying? Sweet ass.
And fever ass, I believe, is the term.
I believe the term is fever ass. Cool. But so that's it.
I mean, I think.
So have you seen one or played one or?
I mean, I've seen them. I haven't seen one in real life. Evidently, they're massive, and they're.
Why? What's? I thought things are getting smaller.
I don't know. I don't know why it's so big. I think it's maybe a design idea, but I mean, I will get one. Mark my words, I will get one. But
hey, Black Friday's next week. Maybe you could.
Dude, I'm telling you, they don't exist right now. Like, you can't get them anywhere. Like, I go to the PlayStation Direct store every day, and I can't get one.
Shit, man.
So
that's
I don't know. I hopefully I'll figure it out, but it's like I can't live in this world for much longer without a PlayStation 5. So
it's like a PS3, like me.
Exactly. PlayStation 3. All right. Anyway, a couple randoms to close this fella out. Ask Doctors Part 1. Part 2 coming next week. Part 1. Read up on the sub. It's really interesting. If you have a question for doctors, ask it here. If you're worried about life, potentially ask it here. If you're worried about the mushroom you found in their backyard, don't ask it here. There's a different subreddit for that.
Shroom ID or possibly Mushroom ID. Very cool.
All right, random. What do I got?
All things insurance.
Mixer's fun. This is actually funny. So Mixer was a Twitch alternative. So funny that this came up. It was a Twitch alternative.
I like it.
Ninja famously joined, and it made a huge stink in the community. I think it was owned by Microsoft or something. And then, like, after a year, it closed.
Rippers
and piecers.
What do you guys got? Show me your screen.
I got a fun one, y'all. I thought it was going to be a little cooler than what it actually is.
I got a very cool one.
Space porn.
Got space porn. Which
I mean,
Oh.
sounds erotic on the surface.
But I mean, they're really gorgeous pictures of space, not like alien porn or anything.
We got to
Let's
go
see
down
that.
the alien rabbit hole eventually on this pod because I think things
Again,
are.
you and your alt YouTube, man. It's
Dude,
taking me over.
Down.
Well,
Podcast on the left has some great episodes about the different races of aliens, including
Yeah.
the all white.
whites.
the what?
Oh, the tall whites. The tall
it's-
whites.
Oh, I don't. Who are these guys? The Norwegians or?
We're gonna have to talk about tall whites one day.
Oh, I got to listen to that.
Podcast. They
Um,
do it justice.
They do a great job. What do you got over there, Freed? You got a random? You wanna throw me your screen?
Yeah, I throw the screen up here. This one rules. I feel like this is up all of our alleys. Love Link. I think this is some kind of a animated. Let's see here. Fan made subreddit for Are you guys still with me here? Can you
Yeah.
see
You're not
this?
throwing me
Okay.
your screen, dog.
Yeah, what? I did it. Oh, geez.
There
It
you
asked me
go.
4 questions before it lets me do it, and then I just.
God.
There we go. Love Link. So I feel like this dog boobs maybe would have pulled a lot of inspiration from something like this for the Kelly Chronicles.
Oh my God. Yes.
This
Fan.
feels like
This is a Dream Daddy-esque video game simulator for dating anime characters. Is that what I'm getting at?
yeah. Oh, look at this guy. He's a troublemaker. Oh man, is he?
Ooh.
This guy talk
Hey.
about a bad boy. He
would
won't
check
shake your
your
daddy's hand. He'll
You
just say, "What up,
I'm
Mr.
gonna have to
Kensington?"
and share my screen one of these days. I've gotten into Sims character influencers and stuff online.
What is
I'm
that?
sorry?
And I'm curious about that.
Actual people who create Sim, like
Oh, look at this.
kind of only out of the Sims, and then I follow them online and they role play.
Dog boobs. Look,
Oh,
finally.
they role play. Wow,
Look,
that's
finally my Sims game is working normally. So I decided to create a date for my Sim, and yes, it's Blake. I know something's missing, but it was so fun creating him. And this is Blake. Look at this hunk, dude.
Oh my
wow.
God.
Wow, so
Damn.
this is kind of what you're talking about.
Well,
So there's this kind of alternate Sim character influencer world happening. It feels like it's at the early stages of it, but it's only getting bigger, sort of thing. We got to get involved.
there are accounts that I follow, like this one, and they
Oh.
have stories. It's like a soap opera. And they have
No way.
It is fucking
What?
awesome.
Hey, what is that called?
This is called, okay, I'll share my favorite one with you guys on Instagram. It's,
I want to look into this.
okay, now get a pen and paper. The first one is WRENNN
Whoa. How many N's was that?
Three ends.
period S4. And it should
Wait.
say blood plus tears in the title.
Oh my god.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, got it.
Sim character comic strip role play.
Yeah. And they're like heavily influenced by anime. Okay, and then
Oh,
this
Very sultry.
is SIM period SKY period story.
Sim Sky Story. That's a little bit easier to remember.
Just check
Amazing.
Guys,
I'm looking forward to getting into that.
daily updates. I am like hanging on for daily updates.
Oh, love it.
So
Absolutely
you're
love it.
following this like you would follow Justin Bieber, etc. Except these characters are not real, which arguably makes them
I
better.
shared with you guys are like soap operas, and then there are like Justin Bieber-esque influencers that you just follow.
This is the days of our lives I
Yes.
like this.
The days of our lives.
Lives are alive. I love it.
Okay, cool.
Hilarious. Okay, well, we will get that maybe in a couple episodes. We'll go deep into that world. But until then, we will be back next week with another episode. Did you Reddit? Weekly podcast about the internet by way of Reddit, the front page of the internet. Now on the Believe Network. My name is It's Your Dad.
I'm Dr. Elvin Touche.
I'm just a doctor, just doing my job,
Just a regular doctor.
saving lives.
Doing the job. We will talk again about Ask Doctors Part 2 coming next week. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.